All right, so this is for Anna Maru. Um, this is a critique for her. So the big thing right off the bat is that looking at your work, I'm just going to pick kind of a color that stands out a little bit. So looking at your work, the first and foremost thing that you want to pay attention to is your anatomy. Angles, so like looking at your looking at your reference here, your shoulder has a lot more angle on it, and that's going to bring out the the arm a little bit more, like so. And the problem you have is that your reference here, it doesn't really show the foreshortening. So what that means is you need to kind of bring this arm out a little bit more here, and it's almost like a rounded circle, like so. Um, so you need to develop that a little bit more. And then the other aspect is, I think your torso is a little bit too short. Um, the torso needs to the torso needs to um, come out a little bit more, and that's going to give you that angle like here. And I think that's the biggest thing that you're having issues with is your torso is too straight. Um, and again, get your dimensions in there. You know, put your arm around, and if it helps, I always tell people to draw the kind of grid on it, and that will help you kind of separate your arms and stuff like that a little bit more. Okay. The second thing that I see wrong with it is you're not understanding form, and this goes with the arms. Like here, you've got this flat, and instead, what you should be doing is rounding that out because that's basically the way things are kind of rounded out here. The other thing is, I think because the torso is a little bit too short, this is going to come somewhat like this, and I'm just kind of moving this down here, and then this, I think the whole arm and everything, or the whole leg and everything would be pushed down a little bit more, and I think more of an angle. Um, that's going to help you as well. Um, you know, watch your angles, watch how your form is actually, you know, portrayed. Um, and so when it comes to your leg here, like so, don't consider this flat like this. Instead, consider this a form that starts out like this and rounds around the figure. Even though that you're kind of doing a straight on pose because the legs almost turned, it still isn't 100% flat parallel to the camera. So that's something that you need to kind of pay attention to. So just kind of arranging this stuff, I think that's what you want to do. And then with this curve, again, I would turn her head a little bit more, and I'd almost make her head a little bit taller. Um, I think the head is just too small for the body. So that being all said, let's talk about your painting method. What you're doing, oh, actually, before we do that, I want to talk about clothing. Okay, so your problem with clothing is you're not really understanding that cloth and armor and stuff is not seam tight. You know, it doesn't go straight, it doesn't go straight, things like that. That's really kind of a bad habit to get into. Instead, what you should be doing is um, layering this up. So an example is if this is your skin, then your first layer of clothing comes out, and then the second layer of clothing comes out of that. So you're bulking up these layers. This is going to flow over. Um, you know, this is going to come out more. The size relationship. When you have something tight, so like if these are like spandex shorts or really tight knit shorts, you're going to get kind of that envelope where things are pulling together. Same thing over here. if this is holding up the skin, you're going to get a little bit of a pinch going on in there. This is going to layer over. This is going to be thicker, something like that. So those are types of things that I'd be working on. You know, getting that layer effect. It's going to create a better silhouette and a better concept for you. The next thing is your painting style. The problem what you're doing right now is you are painting everything with a very simple brush stroke. So what you're doing is you're taking this small brush and trying to paint like so. And the problem with that is you're getting this really sketchy, unblended work here. And so instead, what you want to do is use a drastically bigger brush. And so if on her leg, and you can do this like a selection to kind of create a better paint. So on her leg, I would be grabbing this color, and then I would be grabbing the mid-tone pink and kind of blending these in there. And you can even go one direction or the other. It depends on how you're painting. You're better off going with the curves. And so I'm just kind of bringing this painterly style in there. And you see how that blends a lot better, that larger brush. And I'm just using a simple everyday chalk brush from Photoshop with a little opacity and pressure sensitives on my setup. So, you know, you can do things like that, and that creates a much better concept. The other thing is get a little bit of rim lighting in there. So in this case, bounce light and reds. So I would add in something like this, and that actually is going to pop out and look a lot better. You know, same thing with, you know, all your armor and things like that. You can build that form up and paint a lot cleaner looking and a lot much better technique here, simply by grabbing in some of these concepts. So like here, I'm just going to use what you've got here, and so using your blues. Okay, and the other thing is you're pulling in these blues, which is good, but you really don't have a light source defined. And I think that's the big issue too, is you need to kind of define your light source, because you've got dark shadow on this side, dark shadow on this side. The other thing, don't use solid blacks. They tend to really muddy up the piece. And so if you instead use, like here, if you notice, like I picked black here, and you want, it's a green color, but if I take a little bit more of a green, and even just a real dark green, and look at the contrast now in there, I still have got the same concept. You know, I've still got the same concept, but the greens now add a lot more tone and stuff on it. So those are things that you really want to, you know, go in and add. So if you want your dark greens in there, you know, you can blend these features together. Blues, and you got good color choices. I like that you're choosing other aspects of, and not just staying with the solid, you know, one-tone armor. But you're better off like if you're going to do blue as a highlight or blue light from here, then you want to do blue light from everywhere. So it's going to kind of pull out. And if you want that shadow, say you have that green cloak, the shadow is going to pull over and give you this aspect. So then this blue light will also carry over here, and then the dark green is going to go from this side. So you really need to pay attention to where your lighting is coming from. But that's one thing that you want to really pay attention to. And then if you want designs or anything like that, you can add that in there additionally. But yeah, don't use such a small brush when you're starting your basic paints, because a larger brush is going to give you a lot better blend and a lot smoother actions, like so. And then just kind of get that mid-tone in there. And then that's when you use the smaller brush, is when you get into the mid-tone range and blend range. But don't use such a small brush. Like I see the scrapes in here, and the armor in here. You know, don't you'll get a better blend with using, you know, simple chalk brush and things like that. So, but I think define your light source a little bit better, and I think that'll help you out. What I always recommend is, you know, get yourself even a wooden model and light it with some colored light bulbs. So, all right, I hope that helps.